Welcome, everyone. This is a meeting with the Board of Selectmen. Today is May 13th. It is 4:30 p.m. Is there a motion to call the meeting to order?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
This meeting will be audio and video recorded. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first order of business we have is the Old Colony budget assessment discussion. We have Mr. Aaron Polanski, the superintendent of Old Colony, plus a couple of members of the school budget committee. Welcome, Mr. Polanski.
Thanks for having us. We'll go through just a quick overview.
Sure.
And then we can open the floor up for questions. Our mission is to prepare and support students for the global demands of society and the workforce through rigorous vocational, technical, and academic courses. This foundation is established within a safe environment that values students' interests, needs, and diversity, fostering responsible, productive citizens in our community. We always like to go over admissions trends, just to give folks an idea of where things are at and how we've been trending. This is an overview of admissions, applications received versus students accepted since 2018. A lot of folks have asked, what are the recent impacts of lottery? We'll share right now that the increase in enrollment is 13 students from 10-1-24 to 10-1-25. 10-1-25 is the number used for the FY27 budget, 7 students listed here. The total to date for Acushnet applications, there were 98 students who applied, 43 who were accepted. That's 10 less than last year, and it's probably one of the lowest numbers we've seen in some time. The lottery will probably result in a decreased population for Acushnet. Again, this was mandated by the state. This was not something that Old Colony was in support of, but it shows that 44% of students were accepted, with 98 students expressing interest. The FY27 budget is a level service budget. The FY27 budget consists of a 4.8% increase, of which 1.1% is attributed to insurance increases, 2.26% is due to instructional salary increases. Major increases are attributed to the following: insurance increases of approximately 9.45% for active employees, 12.9% for retirees. There's a conservative placeholder for contractual obligations, as we will begin negotiations with our teachers for next year's contract and have not yet decided upon a COLA. Future planning for folks to keep in mind, we're entering the final year of a 5+2 year transportation contract, and we will anticipate that there could be impacts from that in the upcoming years. Just an overview of how the budget process works. Budget preparation begins in the fall and is fine-tuned with the release of the governor's state budget proposal. Governor's recommendations were released in the winter after the new year. Old Colony did not see major changes in Chapter 70 funding. We have shared our recommendations as part of our draft budget and met with representatives from all of our member towns during 2 meetings that took place in February and March to seek additional insight. We also presented to the Acushnet Finance Committee in the middle of March prior to the finalizing of our budget. We are mindful of the challenges faced by all of our member towns and appreciate the opportunity to work collaboratively with you. At this point in time, I think we'd like to open the floor up to any questions, and Shirley Burke, who is the chair of our Finance Committee, and I will be happy to help.
So, you've given us something a little bit different template, one that I'm more used to from the previous year with percentages, and this spreadsheet that we received is a little bit different. So I had to do my own calculations, and I compared from 2026 budget to 2027 from my previous 2026 budget, and I just went through and seen where the changes were, did the subtraction and all that, you know what I mean? And just checked off line items that were familiar. So I'd rather not get into discussion on certain percentage increases when it comes to administration, but I will say that I have 1, 2, 3, 4 positions that have better than an 8% increase in administration. So I would just ask the question vaguely, is there a reason why those positions have a big increase outside of what other ones don't?
Can you specifically identify which positions you're referring to?
So I have an administrative assistant to you, Mr. Polanski, and that comes out to an 8% increase from what we have from the prior year's budget. Then we have assistant principal secretary, student services secretary, and principal secretary's positions. Those are the 4 positions that have 8% or greater increases in salary.
So you said the principal secretary, my assistant, and what was the other one? What were the other 2?
Administrative assistant superintendent, assistant principal secretary, student services secretary, and principal secretary.
Yep. So those were market adjustments. 2 of them are contracted, 2 of them are union, and there were market adjustments in the first year of the union contract, run with comparables from other districts in our surrounding area. So the assistant principal secretary and the student services secretary were part of that market adjustment with the union negotiation. The other 2 positions are new contracts at the beginning of a new contract, and a market adjustment was made for each of them using comparisons from comps for similar positions.
Okay. And I didn't add into the total cumulative cost, but I noticed that your audit went up $10,000, and then print and postage, obviously postage has gone up. That's $15,000 to our increase. So, and I know you're not looking at the same thing that I have, which is unfortunate, but I couldn't find, and I'm familiar with all your account line items, so it says salary, attendance, transportation secretary, and I can't find in the 2026 budget line item number 10-2210-5124-007-000 in the 2026 budget. So I wrote here, is this a new position?
It's not.
It is not.
That's the school secretary.
It says something about school year and transportation secretary, 200 days, but I can't find that in the 2026 budget.
It's probably under a different title.
A different code?
Maybe a different code, but it's not
I
a new
can't
position.
find, I can't find that code at all.
If you were to look at code 2210, it may be under a different title in 26. Kevin, it sounds like you're looking at a rollout and not the actual budget that's in the packet.
And I was given this piece of paper with no percentages, no year over year, and now I just got that from you, and I wish I would add that, because what was just given to me is what I'm used to seeing. So I could just roll off of this
Yeah,
instead of that.
and we don't have that with us, we have this.
Right.
But
So I'm
that
just trying
title- That title was, that position was retitled.
Okay. So I guess this, I would
It's the
assume that
same
these
person.
account numbers are like, I guess, DESI codes or your own account numbers. It's just I can't find the 5124 anywhere in my 2026 budget from last year's budget that I still have. So I was just curious, I just wrote, is this a new position?
It's not. It is not.
So do you know, Shirley, what line item that was in?
It was probably salary school secretary, if I had to guess.
Okay. I could search around for it, or maybe I could look in your new one and find it.
It
To the
should
co-
be, it should be in
to
that
the
same
code.
grouping.
What's that?
It should be in the same grouping.
Yeah. Well, I notice sometimes the account numbers, they do jump from one page to another. They're not all numerically ordered. It's a little bit of jumping, but I tried to follow the bouncing ball as best I could. So I know you seem to break out, again, it's, you want me to give you the account number because it's a little bit different format. The old one was just one line item, which was salary, contractual obligations, all staff. And that one's up 10,000, that one. But then we have, looks like 2 additional categories under that number, budget number, the 5115 number, the 2305-5115. And it says contractual obligations, 150, and then severance retirement in the amount of 30.
Contractual obligations is a holding place for our negotiations.
For what group? 'Cause that's-
Teachers union?
Oh, because there's some that have increases already in this budget. Is
Those
it
are,
academic or shop?
there's no COLA determined yet for our negotiation. So in contractual obligations, we put a holding point for a COLA.
So is that academic and shop?
Correct.
Okay. Salaries electrical, one of them's a TBD, and that's up 16,382.
Are you looking at your copy or an old copy, or are you looking
Now,
at?
I'm looking at what I thought was a good new copy, and I'm pretty sure it is because I comped it against the 2026 budget, and it's up 16,382. But one of the positions say TBD, so I don't know if you had a retirement and you're waiting to fill a void.
That was questioned as well, so what you're seeing is an early iteration. That position is not in this, the to be determined.
Okay, so,
You see there's no name
There's a big
assigned,
number of
because
it.
you're looking at a roll-up, there is no name to that.
yeah, there's no names to the TBD,
Yeah.
but there are to the other ones, but that number's a big nut. It's $102,000, the TBD one.
Which I think that if you were to look at the end, what that percentage increase is to what the percentage increase here, overall budget, you might see something different.
Okay. It just came out to a $16,382,000 difference from 2026 budget.
Kevin, when you get to the end of that roll-up, the very last page, what is the percentage increase?
I don't think it gives me that. It doesn't give me that. What it gives me is a $718,297 difference from the prior year's budget. And the bottom line is, when I did all the math, compared to the front page, the assessment page that you have given us, the breakdown for the 5 communities, I do come up with a little bit of a different number, but it's not exorbitant. It's not $100,000 off. So there's a bit of a difference. I didn't just know if you didn't factor in what you were getting for Chapter 70 aid, because it's kind of still in the air. I know the House threw out a number, the governor's proposed budget, the House threw up a number, and then I think the Senate still has to vote. So it's kind of like, I don't know if that number, that it was like 70,000, I think, when my math came out. So I'm like, maybe that's just them not including Chapter 70, additional Chapter 70 right now, just for the simple fact that it's an unknown.
So I think probably if I had to make an assumption here, that is a previous iteration when the budget increase was 5 point something, and we went in and we adjusted further. And the reductions that were made to bring it to a 4.8 are not reflected in that document.
Okay.
So if you could, the salaries for the electrical that you have, what did it total at?
It gave me a total of 312,511.
That's the right number.
So all I did was comp that final number off my 2026 budget. I've been doing this for a while, it's pretty simple for me. I look at 2026, but normally when we get this from you, that's why I was kind of surprised at the lack of information I received. And now I have it, because I started looking through this document, I'm like, this is the paperwork I'm looking for. And it gives me the prior year's budget, the expenditures, the percentages. I have to do all of that myself, and that was a lot of fun. Doing it myself, looking at last year's budget, looking at this year's numbers, putting check marks on the flat line ones. Some of them are up, I got it all labeled here, which ones are up. I'm not even talking about some of the smaller numbers, I'm just looking at some of the bigger numbers. And I think, hold on a minute, because I made myself a little note sheet somewhere back here when I was putting my notes together for all the big numbers. I did do a little breakdown of where your numbers came from. I wrote admin, 76,137, I got roughly $41,000 in salary increases. Special ed's up 84,820, business tech's up 44,636, travel's up 20, transportation's up 90, 005, utilities are up net 39,400, and health insurance up 199.20, and that gives me an increase of about 545,913 out of what you project. I think on that sheet was 621. Correct, 621,072. So I'm not even 100 grand away, but I didn't do all the little Mickey Mouse ones, right? I mean, I get contractual obligations. Some of them do have it in there. Like on this page, I happen to have one budget that's up 1,470. I didn't even bother with that. I just went to the big numbers to figure where we're at. So I have a decrease of $41,027 in graphic communications.
It's a retirement, replacement with a lower step teacher.
That's what I figured, thank you. Business tech is up 44,000, some of the bigger ones, that's all I'm pointing out right now.
Yes, departure, hired a teacher and a higher step.
You had just 2 teachers and a shop aide.
Business tech has 2 teachers and a shop aide.
Business tech,
And a one-to-one that might not be listed under business tech, but we do have a one-to-one as well.
well, I just went off last year's budget
Sure.
again, that same category.
Yep.
Because I always make sure I match up line items to make sure I'm looking in the right spot, so if there's something else somewhere else, but the number comes out to an additional
Makes sense.
44,000.
Yep.
And it's gotta make some sense for what I did, because my number's not that far
Sounds
off from
accurate,
what you
yeah.
have. And I get it, so special education, 60,605. And I think there was another one part of special ed, that's correct, the next page, that's up an additional 24,215, so a good portion of it's just under 100 grand, right? That's special ed.
Correct.
It's like 85 grand and change. There's an increase in travel, which is kind of shocking, because it's $50,000, it's up 15 grand. And then professional development's up 5 grand. So that's a $20,000 increase just in those 2 line items. Can you explain what's going on with travel?
Sure, we have teachers who attend conferences. We also have no idea what the federal funding will look like for the REAPS grant that we typically tap for travel. And so we built into a travel line just in case that grant is not funded by the federal government.
What's that grant called?
The REAPS grant, it's a rural schools grant.
One second. What is it called?
The REAPS grant, REAPS.
Okay. Thank you. And obviously, transportation, regular day, that's an increase of 46,785. Then you have late buses, an additional increase of 23,220. And I noticed a note somewhere that you said something, you're in the 2nd year of an extension of a previous contract?
So we had a 5+2 year contract.
Yeah, that's it.
This is the last year of the contract that will go out to bid. And so we don't know what the impacts of that will be for FY '28, but we just like to give people a heads up in advance, because as everybody's planning, those are real considerations.
In the
It's not shown here, there's no impact right now because we're in the same contract.
No, it is a big increase.
Correct, but we don't know what the increase will be next year, and it could be
Oh,
considerable.
yeah, but it's still a big increase. That's why
Correct.
I only documented the bigger ones to try to get to your 621 number. And then transportation for this athletic, $20,000 increase, totals 110. So while I'm on, in athletics, general is an increase of 10,000. Does Old Colony do anything as far as fundraising for athletics programs to offset some of those? Because athletics is a pretty good part of your budget.
Yep, we do.
And I know Bristol Aggie does a hell of a job with fundraising for their athletic program, so you guys are involved with fundraisers?
Very much so.
I'm constantly buying them for Bristol Aggie, but I haven't had anybody ask me for Old Colony. That's why I wanted to ask the question, because I think Bristol Aggie does a phenomenal job with fundraising. And I'm a huge fan of fundraising because it teaches the kids, you know, a little bit about business and entrepreneurship, right? So I think it's kind of a kills two birds with one stone kind of effect, right? And I think it's great for the children. So, your electricity, I don't know, you went up 39,400 to 190,200. I mean, is that just kind of what most people are doing right now?
We'll
chucking
be
a
over,
dot?
we'll be over on our electrical line this year, I believe. So we need to make sure we account for that, but I believe we will be over on electrical. We under budgeted this year.
Yeah, I'm sure. And who knows where we're going with rates, the way
We're getting hit everywhere.
the DPU is heading. We all have households. We know what those bills are doing, right? So it is what it is. Services, contracted services, technology's up 15 grand.
Yep.
That's just antivirus, that's technology stuff.
Escalated contract prices.
Yep, that's what happens, you enter into subscription.
We try to
Because that's what
avoid
that's
it. We
what-
don't do digital textbooks for that reason. You know, we limit the number of subscriptions we have very intentionally, but for what we do have, it's a pretty modest
It's a
increase.
tech company,
all
right?
things-
No
all
more
things
giving you a
considered.
disc and that this is good for 5 years, it's a renewal every year.
That's how they do business.
Yeah, we deal with that here. And health insurance active is a big jump, and it was last year as well, so $129,720. What are you doing about that? Because last year was I think it was like a $300 and something thousand increase, and this year's another 129.
We've
So you're
had-
talking almost $500,000 just in health insurance increases?
We're looking at plan design. We've had meetings to look
What
at.
group
plan
are you
design.
with? What group?
Maya. We left our former group and joined Maya, which was a good move.
So you're back with Maya?
It was a
They got better rates.
It was a much better, you know, we got out at the right time. I think the impact financially, if we had stayed where we were, would have been detrimental or catastrophic, to put it lightly.
Mm.
We got out at the right time, and Maya's done a great job for us.
Yeah, they're a large group, so. Again, health insurance retirees are up $40,000. I'm assuming the same thing here.
Correct.
And your liability, $18,000. So, looking at last year's budget was 15,038,000. Last year's budget?
Last year's budget,
Yeah.
hovered right around 15 million, I believe. $14,998,640.93.
Hold on a minute. What was your final number?
$14,998,640.93. This year, $15,718,335.
Right.
The dollar with a differential of $719,694.07. Instructional salaries accounted for $339,000 of that. Transportation, $70,005 of that. Insurance, $132,720 of that.
What'd you say the insurance was?
Insurance programs, $132,720.
I have $190,920 all in on insurance.
We have a $40,200 for retirees, 18,000 for non-employee insurance, so all those added up probably get to your number. But active insurance programs, 132.
Oh, so you're just using that?
I just broke it out.
Yeah, I just added all
Yeah,
insurance.
if they're all added together, you're correct.
That's
Yep.
fine. Yeah,
Spot
that's
on.
fine. I was just trying to get the bulk of
Yes, no, you were
what's
spot on.
going on. So even going back, because it's Mickey Mouse money, that 15,038 number that I used, and I subtract this number here from it, there's an increase year over year of $718,297. So if you can enlighten us on, how did the total increase get to 621? Where's that difference?
Instructional salaries are $339,000.
No, it's not that big of a
I'm wondering what
number,
you're
right?
asking.
So the difference between this year's budget and last year's budget came, the math, 718,297, but on the assessment sheet, it's 621,072, assessment variance. So your fiscal year 27 drought member town assessments, it gives the total, right? If you subtract out the total fiscal year 27 assessment, the 10,592,294, you subtract out the fiscal year 2026 assessments, you come down to your number of assessment variance of 621,072 year-over-year increase. And that number's accurate because I made sure I did the math.
And you're
But I don't understand how the budgets, the difference in the two bottom line budgets is 718, but you have an assessment difference variance of 621,072.
Let me write down your question, make sure I can.
You want to look at what I'm doing?
No, I see what you're doing, I just have to break it down and figure out exactly what the differential is.
Okay, I want to go back to the last page.
Yep,
Well, I can't give you the last page, 22 of 22, but that's our sheets that we were given. So you got-
Kevin, look at the total FY on the town assessments.
Yeah.
Okay, look at the total FY 27 assessment of 10,592,294.
That's all you want is $10,000?
No, sir, that is not what I want because there's other money in there, but that's the total assessment.
10 million.
Your FY
Shirley,
26.
10
Oh, I'm sorry.
10 million.
10 million.
If you wanted 10,000 for all
You
five
would've given
number
it to
towns,
me
you can
now,
move out
you
the
could've
door
said
right now, I'll cut the
self-
check on your way out.
I apologize.
So it's 10, I just don't want the people at home thinking that we don't know how to do math. It's 10,592,294, I got you.
Got the FY 26 assessment,
Should I circle that one too? Yep,
9971222.
correct.
If you subtract those two numbers, you get the variance
Yeah,
that you
that's-
just asked for.
That's exactly what I did. I have my little homework done right here.
So you're asking where did the 621,072 number came from? You subtracted the 20, from the 27 assessment, the 26 number of assessment.
Yeah, I did that part of the equation. My question, Shirley, is when you look at the total budget of last year, that 15,038,000, and I look at this 15,718,335, the difference between those two numbers, total budget increase, is 718,297. How is the
oh, right,
assessment?
because some of it comes from the state. I see what you're asking.
So you did factor in chapter 70?
Yep, then if you looked at
On the
this
front page,
page,
yeah.
all of them, the page
The
you
revenue
typically, the
sheet,
second
the
page
revenue
that
sheet
comes,
shows that.
Yeah, now, so we didn't have that sheet before the meeting.
Oh,
the budget breakdown with revenue. That's all it shows.
I know what I have from previous years, and I looked in my book and I said, well, I don't have anything that I've gone from the previous years.
right.
So I do have my previous years in there, and I see what you've got over here.
So this is the sheet y'all used to looking at with the account lines, the broader number of account lines?
You're talking about the budget breakdown with revenue?
Yes, sir.
I'm looking at it now,
That's
but I
it.
wasn't looking at
That's
it.
the answer to your
So-
question. It's the
Yesterday.
revenue. When
So
you,
you see a little, an increase in, as small as it was, chapter 70 monies, might have been an increase in the transportation.
So chapter 70 funding, You used a number of 4,354,000.
That's the governor's budget.
That's the number you went with?
That's the initial number that appears on the cherry sheet.
I get it.
And typically, that is the least amount of money you would do, and as you stated when you started this, the House has given a budget, the Senate has given one, they're not yet in conference, we don't know what the final number is.
Mhm.
We anticipate that that's gonna be increased, but with certainty, to use an uncertain number would be irresponsible.
So you used the 5,052,439 when you back out the $20,000 for school choice in the regional transportation number on the cherry sheet?
Yep,
Right.
and that
There's
offset,
about an extra $50,000 with the house number. But, like
That
you
comes
said,
back
and I
in fourth
opened up
quarter
that way,
assessments,
right?
yeah.
The Senate hasn't voted,
Right,
it's still in
you
there.
most certainly
So it's
get-
still in conference, so you're using the most conservative number when it comes to Chapter 78 reimbursement. That's why, like, all the math's just not working.
it doesn't work out.
I was
Because
trying to- I was trying to make, usually when you work with numbers, no matter which way you play with them, they'll always work their way out. And when I was doing this, I'm like, the math's just not working here. So with all of that said, I get what you're doing, you're using a conservative number for Chapter 70. Did you, at times, because of where we're at as a town, and I think all the towns are where we're at, you know, we have our local schools cutting, they cut last year, they're cutting again this year. I know there's been nothing, I don't believe there's been any positions cut here at Old Colony
Last year,
for services.
cut a teacher last year.
Right, I don't know what this Acushnet Public Schools
They've
cut.
already been slipped 8 total positions, and depending on what the final budget, upwards of 22 cut this year if we don't.
Last year, they cut 5 or 6.
Last year, they ended up technically cutting
Three.
2, but they were recovered through a free cash
Yeah, which
motion
was.
at the town meeting.
So in the past, you know, we use less funds applied, Chapter 70 school aid, transportation aid, and there was, in times, I have some history of that, you would do an offset to help out municipalities with shop productivity and E&D. Has there been any discussion of that?
We don't use E&D to offset our operational budget. We do use E&D for one-time capital expenses, and we have done that historically, which is why you don't see capital requests oftentimes in a warrant as an additional item.
Right. But we have used it in the past, because I do have history of that, as less funds applied.
We have not used E&D in recent years.
Previous business manager, and would use E&D and shop productivity. But that stopped with the change, and it rightly stopped with the change, because you should never use E&D, because you don't know where your E&D is gonna be the following year, and to use it for an operating budget for recurring costs is just irresponsible. And the same thing with productivity.
So where are we with E&D? Because I've looked on DLS as well, and the history is you're raising 400 and change every year in E&D. So where does that money go at the end of the year? Do you have some kind of an account line item that if you appropriate $400,000, so over the last 10 years, this year alone, you've done $448,000 in last year, 2026, in E&D. So in every year for the last 10 years, you average a minimum 425. So A, you can't possibly be spending $425,000 a year in E&D account. B is what's the account balance and where is that held?
So there have been returns of fourth quarter assessments at times for our member towns. We've purchased trucks in the past. That's been I know that's been a recent capital expense. Off the top of my head, I couldn't answer exactly what the expenditures might be.
Typically, when E&D comes in, and once it's been certified, and if it is, let's say, at a $400,000 figure, we have traditionally put a block of that money into stabilization. We have taken another block of money and we've put it into OPEB. We have then turned around, made the purchases that vocational coordinator or the facilities manager thinks is important. That's not budgeted for in the operating budget. And we typically leave about $150,000 in E&D for any emergency that might arise.
Because you do have inside your budget a stabilization contribution of $25,000. So going back to that line item, you're carrying $30,000 in interest on debt. We wiped out the debt last year. What debt are we carrying in the Old Colony budget? We shouldn't be carrying anything because you took that debt and you incorporated it into your budget and permanently took it.
The hope
We
of
talked about that last year.
I believe the hope of that $30,000 was that the project was going to be approved and that would be a kickstart for the project.
The $30,000 in interest.
Yeah, it's a minimal amount of money.
You have $75,000 additional funded retired bond principal in the budget, showing $75,000 when last year was all wiped out, the debt.
I don't know if that, when this was created, if that was the same notion. Kevin, can you give me,
Account line name is 5200 5194 -00091.
can you, do you have a black line that has a number at the end, like a 4-digit number? No?
It's just the account number. The account number, yeah, it's all the same number though. It's just
Because are you calling it long-term debt retirement?
No, I'm just saying there's something up in here. It says account number 10-5200-5194-091-000. And it says in this report that was done March 10th by the business manager of your school, stabilization fund, additional funding, retired bond principal. And then it says stabilization contribution, 25. 75 is retired bond principal. The debt was retired last year though, in the fiscal year 2026 budget, because it was permanently put into the budget.
In this one that we all have, unfortunately, the long-term debt retirement is 0 for this coming year. So I'm not quite sure where the discrepancy is. This is what we're talking about is the difference of looking at the rollout budget that you're looking
It's
at and
75,
then the 9-page.
if that's the case, it's 75 plus $30,000 that was in this budget, but you're saying it's not in that budget.
Stabilization in this is higher than the 25,000. 25,000 was an older number that we had increased to $100,000, anticipating that we would need additional money into the stabilization account. And the long-term retirement, as you said, it was retired. I'm not seeing anything there.
It's an older document.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, but-
if I may,
Yes, sir.
matched up the numbers that Kevin's been reading on the
Thanks,
budget
Kev.
we got today. The heading in the bold bar would be 5,500 listed just as stabilization fund.
Correct.
On the copy we're looking at that we were provided, it breaks down the stabilization contribution and additional funding quotation retired bond principal. So the dollar amount matches. This one just says this is retired bond principal.
It's an older copy, what you have is an older copy,
Yep.
and that allocation was
But
put in
the dollar
stabilization.
value.
The dollar amount is the same,
Same.
but it was moved to stabilization.
So you got 100 grand, now you got $100,000 of stabilization, and you got 460,000 in E&D.
If there's a building project that passes, there'll be financial needs, obviously, that we'll have to consider in terms of funding.
Mr. Lamontagne, do you have something?
No, just Sorry, Aaron, I speak with you on the phone and everything, and it just caught my eye. Maybe I haven't noticed before, but I've never seen a stabilization fund within a budget before. Is that allowable? Okay, I just want to make sure, because this is like the first time I've seen a $100,000 stabilization fund within a budget, so I would have just asked you, but now that it came up this evening, I just never seen anything like that before, so.
The stabilization fund, Kevin, is a dedicated fund that can only be used for capital items. So that when we did the feasibility study, that's where we grabbed our share of the $500,000. And we talked about how the towns were gonna pick up $500,000 and the school would pay for $500,000 of the feasibility. We were taking that from the stabilization because it was for a capital issue.
Right, but it's
And the
funded,
only-
it's funded with tax dollars.
Well, I'm not disputing that, but because we're standalone, we can't go to a single town or a single entity. There are pockets of revenue here or funds that we use for emergency. Capitalization is one of them. If a freezer or something goes down that what little we have in E&D can't cover, it's gonna come out of stabilization.
You don't have an account balance for E&D over the years? I couldn't believe you'd be spending $450,000 a year that you have in E&D, so is there's an account somewhere that's holding a stash of money, I would have to imagine, let's say, this is.
Stabilization.
So
Stabilization has-
at the end of every year, based on DLS, Division of Local Services, I ran that report from there, it's well in excess of $400,000 a year for the last decade, so let's call that $4 million. That money, at the end of the fiscal year, you roll it into a stabilization.
Not all of it. Again, what you see in E&D,
Mhm.
okay, gets broken down. Once it's certified, a portion of it. Typically, while I've been on the school committee, once they began to fund, because in the years when they established the stabilization, they weren't putting any money into it. And it seemed kind of, didn't
I
make
get it.
much sense.
Right.
So as E&D began to get certified, that's where I'm gonna use 330,000, only because the math is easy. 110, we're gonna put a third of that into stabilization. We're gonna put a third of that, typically it's not a third, it's a little bit less, into OPEB, because we all know about OPEB liability. And then whatever's then left over is this decision, what do we hold in E&D? So our E&D, until it's certified, or I should say, after it's certified and those decisions are made, is seldom over $150,000. Because we've used some of it to offset capital purchases, as the superintendent director has said, and we hold that for the smaller emergencies, knowing the big emergencies, it's in capitalization.
There's
In
also credits to
stabilization,
fourth
I'm sorry.
quarter
What's the total
assessments.
balance in your stabilization account?
I'd have to go look, I don't know off the top of my head, but we can get it for you.
It's just, again, it's roughly a $410,000 increase, and I get we have more students going this year, 13 to be exact. I don't know if there's any way that Old Colony can help reduce that number on behalf of not only the town of Acushnet, but the other member towns. I know Rochester's budget's down pretty significantly because of their loss of students. But, you know, I don't know if there's a willingness to revote and try to do something different within this budget to offset some of the impacts.
Kevin, one of the biggest things, not just for Acushnet, but for all of the member towns, is the local minimum contribution. That is determined by the state, which is the first line on your town assessment. That is what the state says Acushnet has the means to support. Your minimum contribution went up $297,000. That is a fair chunk of that assessment increase.
But is it fair to say that, you know, on your spreadsheet, the fiscal year 2026 minimum contributions, what the state says to spend, right? We have to spend?
Yes,
Okay. And then you look at our assessment, it's $909,761 over that. So it's $1 million. It's $909,000, the difference between those two numbers.
Yep.
You're shaking your head no, Aaron, but
well, it's transportation and equipment.
Right.
I mean, there are other items beyond.
what's Old Colony over minimum net school spending? Let me ask that question. Do you know that number? Because based on this math that we do, including transportation, I come up with $2.613 million.
If you look at the budget breakdown with revenue, the net school spending is $14,505,815.
Can you say it again, Shirley?
It is $14,505,815 is what's listed on the school budget with revenue. The budget breakdown with revenue. The net school spending, to which you have to add pupil transportation and $65,000 additional money for site, building, and equipment, and then that $30 that was in debt service. Then that breakdown, Kevin, is on that second page.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some, I mean, DLS, it depends on what information you're looking for. In 2022, required net school spending was $8,922,142. Actual net was $10,261,657. Amount over or under required was, back in 2022, you were over by $1,339,515. And the year before that was even higher, it was $1.8 million.
Well, if I do the quick math here, our budget at 15,000,007, net schools spending is 14,000,005. We're there at that $1.2 million that you referred to as going back. What's increasing dramatically is the required contribution each year.
Mr. Chairman.
I just looked, I'm sorry.
No, sorry, Shirley. Mr. Chairman, may I?
Yeah,
Just for
sure.
clarification, there's a difference, just so everybody's paying attention, between net school spending and minimum net school spending. Minimum net school spending is what the state requires the district to spend. Net school spending is what the district is actually spending. So I think just to clarify what my chairman's
Yeah.
asking for is what the state issued number for minimum net school spending is.
Total?
Yeah, and it's not on your sheet. It's listed as net school spending, which is what
If you
you're,
look at the draft assessment, the minimum local contribution.
that's minimum local contribution. We're trying to find out what the overall budget is. The state says you have to spend this. Everything above that would be above minimum net school spending.
I cannot answer that question.
I would like that information possibly, and I'd like it simply because I'm having a real tough time watching our K through 8 school be torn apart 3 years in a row from budget standpoint because they're getting the crumbs. So we're actively looking for every dollar we can right now, and I think it's important for everybody in this community to be able to send their kids to a K through 8 school that can actually graduate to go to Old Colony. I think it's a very important thing to educate all of our students, but we need definitive numbers, definitive answers. We absolutely cannot take less than every piece of helpful information as possible. We
Okay.
need to figure it out. I'm heartbroken the fact that I'm already hearing that there's gonna be 22 Acushnet teachers let go if we don't hit a number that's unattainable. Which means that no matter what we do, we're gonna lose at least 10 to 15 teachers in Acushnet Public Schools.
It
We've
has,
already lost 7.
that is not lost.
No, lost.
No, lost on us. Rochester is cutting teachers. If the override does not pass in Lakeville, they'll be cutting staff. It is epidemic across the state.
Correct.
So,
What is the percentage increase right now for Acushnet Public Schools? That was brought up.
I
Do you know?
I didn't get to make the joint meeting. Mr. Hinckley
You know what it
was
was?
there.
I don't know what the percentage is, but based on the total budget, the constraint-driven budget that they are presenting to us is a $1.1 million increase.
$1.1 million increase
Correct.
from last year's budget.
Correct.
And last year's budget,
I don't have that number in front of me. They're not on the agenda
You know
tonight.
what,
So,
so-
I might be good. I thank you for trying to give me that much credit, Aaron, but I might be good with numbers, but
Yeah.
again, I didn't attend that meeting, but look, I understand what Mr. Hinckley's trying to say, and I think we all do, but the reality of it is when we have two schools, we got a $410,000 increase from Old Colony, right? And then we got a school that's looking for, let's just call it $1 million, and we have revenues of about 950. I've had this conversation with you folks for the past couple of years. I think it was 2 years ago, you wanted 600 and change, and I said that exceeds what the town brings in Prop 2.5 levy increase. It's one of our major revenue sources that we have, that and new growth. Between the two, we have roughly $850,000. We've been tweaking revenues up that we have, and we're getting to that point of no return with revenues, and there's a certain breach mark that you don't want to hit, because at any point it falls below that 80% threshold. Say I'm collecting $1 million in revenue, I wouldn't want to use more than $800,000, which is the 80% threshold. Use that for budgetary reasons, because God knows what happens with that revenue line, and it drops below that. Now that's offsets being made up by the taxpayers because everybody's coming and grabbing. There's only a certain percentage of money that we can allocate to each place. I get it, cost of increase, salaries have increased, right? I mean, it's the biggest, if anybody running a business will tell you health insurance and salaries are the biggest cost of overhead. It's not rocket science to running a business. You know, I know I'll bring this sheet back up, but I still have it from 2012. It's ironic that we're at 207 students this year. 2012, we were at 210 students. Our assessment was $1.8 million. Today, 3 students less, our assessment's at $3.65 million.
What happens in 14 years?
That's just a Acushnet assessment,
Yep.
right? So it's doubled. And all I'm saying is, let's look at the bigger picture, because I can do this with anything that's out there, right? And look at it and say, so we doubled in, call it 12, 13 years. What's gonna happen in the next 12 or 13 years? We doubling again? And we all know that's not sustainable. People's wallets aren't growing that fast. So I think everybody needs to take a look in the mirror and say, we need to stop. You know, I always say we don't have a revenue problem, we have a spending problem, and I truly do believe we have a spending problem. And it's nobody, like, it's just the way we're negotiating, the way unions hitting you, whatever it may be. It's the nature of the beast, but sooner or later, they have to understand that you want X percentage in an increase, but the teacher alongside you is gonna lose their job because we gotta pay for it somewhere. It's the same thing with my police department, my fire department, my DPW, is you guys want this for a percentage increase, you want that kind of money? You look at your staff and tell me which person's job you want me to get rid of, because that's the only way I can pay for that kind of an increase. That's where we're at. And that's reality.
we had identical
It's
conversations.
unfortunate, but that's the reality.
We
of
had
today's
identical
world.
conversations during the last negotiation.
I mean, it's just,
And we cut
We got a
the teacher.
teacher.
But one of the things, Kevin, I think that cannot be lost as well, and I'm not elected, so it's easier for me to say it, is the state is doing a poor job in
think
how
we
it
know.
funds
I'll agree with you.
towns. And quite frankly, special ed costs. Rochester is in the
100%.
jam it's in because it had an unanticipated special needs child, and it's gonna, be catastrophic.
so.
So what I'm recommending is, I know it isn't a help for this year. It is the final year of the Student Opportunity Act, that whole fair share. There's discussions, and what I'm seeing from MASC, which is the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, they are going to do 4 public hearings, I believe, on, yet again, Chapter 70. Because the towns like these towns, and you're talking about your town, I'm looking at my town, I'm Rochester, that other than CMAS, no industrial base, no business space, can't afford what it is. Prop 2.5, nobody wants to talk about it because nobody wants taxes to keep up, does not keep up with the increases that towns have. So these are restraints that are being put on us. How do we do it?
And in '22 and '23, the municipal growth factor in the Chapter 70 funding formula is frozen at 4.5%. They never exceed it. The problem is that inflation was way higher those years. Everybody's playing catch-up. That's a reality.
No, I
So,
get it.
so the advocacy that's happening
We-
statewide.
I signed a
real.
letter in common with the FinCom, Mike Boucher, our FinCom chairman, and our school committee chairman, Ron Hood. We sent a letter to the governor's office about Chapter 78. And I'm working cohesively with one of our state reps, Mark Sylvia. And we're trying to engage with them and push for further money, but the governor's just, we got whatever amount of money in their rainy day account, like, help us out. And it's just not coming that way, right? And that Prop 2.5 thing, I can already see if she's reelected, where we're gonna go with that is say, hey, municipalities, do what you want. But that's clearly not an answer for us
No,
either,
it isn't
right?
an
Raising 4.5% on your levy, it ain't doing crap. So if we on 2.5 every year, we get an additional $23,000 a year on ours, and we're at like 585 right now, total increase every year. But from the previous year, it gives you about an extra $25,000 in the Prop 2.5 levy increase. So if last year was 550, this year it's 575, right? That's all you get. So now you want me to go to 4.5, and then I gotta bring that in, and then what people don't understand at home, and I'm gonna try to have a conversation with them once we get through all of this budget stuff and warrant finalization, but I would like to have a conversation with the taxpayers, the people at home, because it's a misconception that they think that their property tax is gonna only go up 2.5%. And it's not based on that. And the system's rigged there, it's a flawed system too. So unless we address, and everybody puts their big boy pants on and big girl pants on, and we get to that state house and we have real dialogue about real reform, just systems failed miserably. It's utterly failed miserably. And the elected officials at that state house need to get their act together and work with local municipalities and figuring out solutions to the problem. Other than that, it's never gonna work. And we're just gonna continue going down a failed road. Because now, like I think I said it at the meeting on Patriots Day, the fiscal brick wall, we've hit it. Everybody's face is jam-packed inside that fiscal brick wall, and there's nothing we can do about it. And raising revenue to keep the system, the failed system, floating, that's not an answer to the taxpayers.
But I believe we are well represented, we, as Representative Sylvia covers most of the district, at least some of the towns. Senator Rodrick's, I believe you have Senator Martigny.
We do.
They have heard our message loud and clear, and I think, and I hope that we're gonna have a responsible dialogue this coming year when we talk about this can't work. They're being slammed across the state by school committees. The number of, I think it was 220 districts with declining enrollment, but yet Chapter 70 is held harmless, that they're getting the same amount of money. There are just issues that need to be addressed.
Kevin,
Mr. Lamontagne.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate you giving me the town assessment page and everything, and working with me on that. What are we at right now with, through the chair, of course, Chapter 71, transportation, what's the
Transportation
regional?
reimbursement.
Yeah, what's the rate at right now for that?
It varies,
Yeah, it's like 8,
depends what year it is.
okay.
The promise of regional transportation is, stop laughing.
No, I talked about this a few years ago.
The promise of regional transportation is that it will be at 100%. In all my years on the regional school committee, that
That was the carrot.
was the
Yeah,
carrot.
yeah.
And in recent years, they would hit like the 90 mark. I want to
I
say
think we
it's
hit 92 last year or the year before.
something like that, boondoggle, I want to say it's like 87.
Shirley, to your point, we can figure it out. I had it written down somewhere, but I'm not gonna dig through that file.
What I was getting at is, on these assessment sheets we get, I think it'd be clearer if we were able to know exactly, like, if you look at the sheet, you see Rochester going down, -22.
It's the loss of kids.
I don't know if that's transportation, cutting a bus, So if I were able to get on the sheet what you were getting for each town, the breakout of the chapter 71 coming in, like your income coming in, and then the breakout in expenses on the transportation.
71 goes right to the regional vocational, doesn't go necessarily by town, if that makes sense. It's just an offset via revenue. And then, as Kevin indicated, we use a conservative number to begin. We make adjustments once the final budgets come out. Sometimes there's a return of part of a fourth quarter assessment. That does happen as well.
Well, I just think it'd be easier for us when we're reading these sheets, because I've seen other regionals do it. They break it out by town, the transportation income coming in. And obviously that number fluctuates, as you were speaking with the chair about, with chapter 8 for the schools, and then the expenses. So that way it's clear exactly, like, you know, when I look at this, I have to kind of guess Rochester's number dropped significantly. And then I see our number, and I have to kind of come to like different theories. I know Aaron's always available by phone, and I could call him up and everything, which is great that he's very proactive. But if we could get that to a way where it's easier for the member towns to really understand where
It's used as a revenue offset before the assessment's created, if that makes sense. So it's created at the bottom of this sheet.
This packet that they just gave us today,
Yeah.
so when they
This is
do
what-
this, it says less funds applied.
So
Well,
this
now
is-
this just says funds applied.
That's applied.
They do the reimbursement of
These are all the
chapter.
revenues applied, and then we back into that assessment number. Does that make sense?
No, I understand.
Yeah.
It just, on this sheet, it's not exactly clear,
We didn't
at
have-
least for me, but.
we didn't have all this information. I have it in old budgets.
Well, we got that in the packet this evening, right?
Yeah, that just came in. That's why you're not
But
familiar.
typically, historically, I know there was a lot going on. Historically, we've been invited in earlier. I know you were in transition, but we've always come in earlier, and we've had that, and then we've had a couple of meetings. This year, because there was transition, we didn't have that earlier meeting with the select board. We did have a meeting with the FinCom. But I think historically, to Kevin's point, he has always had that sheet.
And the Chapter 71 funding that's listed on the budget breakdown with revenue, that again is a preliminary number from the governor's number. You'll see that on this Cherry's sheet. And they anticipate that that will go up as well. But what typically happens is when it goes up, because that money can only be used for transportation, it sits in that next line that says transportation fund offset. And that's typically been bigger, because I remember last year you talking about $300,000.
When you guys do use that, and I did talk about the transportation to do an offset, and it's already a portion of the previous year's transportation, let's say it's $1.2 million total transportation line, and I'm pretty close, right, for the sake of this conversation. And I looked at fiscal year 2026 on DLS, and so everybody at home knows what Division of Local Services. It's $759,774 was your transportation reimbursement, and on this sheet that you folks used, it looks like it's $763,441. So they're actually like $4,000 over. So when you do this for the following year, do you use the previous year's reimbursement? It's gotta be right, because you don't know what your reimbursement's gonna be. So that number that you less funds applied for this year's assessments, you use 2026, what you actually got for reimbursement, because it's only $4,000 off, so I'm assuming that's what you did.
So what's here in this budget breakdown, okay, is the number that's on the Cherry sheet. You treat it like you do the Chapter 70. This is the FY 2027 preliminary Cherry sheet estimates. The business manager typically takes that number. If you go to 27, you will see regional school transportation. That is the exact figure that's used.
Come on, oh, 763?
763,441.
So you use the governor's number.
Correct, because it's the safest number to use.
Okay, yep.
We're
I see what you did.
anticipating that's gonna be, if it comes in higher than that, that money is what goes into the offset to be used next year,
Yeah.
which would probably be good because it'll be a new bus contract with increased costs.
Mr. Resendes, you have anything?
I just wish I had this earlier.
Right.
Because I don't have any historical documents like him, I'm the new guy, but this is helpful to look back.
So there's nothing that the school committees wouldn't consider trying to do a revote and seeing what else you could squish out of the budget? Just because 410 is a tough pill for us to swallow. And I did the math, 13 times whatever, I use 16, it's 17 now, which again, cost of educating the students way up. If you look at it, including chapter 78, you're talking about $23,000 a child. We're almost at the point where I can send them to college for a high school kid. So
Unfortunately.
that's what I'm trying to say. No matter how much more money we keep getting, those costs just keep going up. So there's gotta be, if we're gonna get more money, we gotta be more conscientious of how we spend the money and not keep bringing it up, because I can tell you right now, even if the state did an injection for every community with chapter 70, they're not gonna continue doing it year over year.
Well, look what happened to us 4 years ago. That's exactly what they did. We got a huge increase in chapter 70, and then it dropped off a cliff the very next year. So, once you set that baseline up, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Kevin, the way we do the budget preparation is we sit with town officials. We sat twice. At the end of the second meeting, I chair that. Advised everybody when the school committee would be voting on the budget. If anybody has a problem, please get back to us. The budget was much higher than what it was. When the school committee got it and made changes, we made changes again after looking at some of the things. We came in with what we thought was a respectful and reasonable budget. Acushnet FinCom asked us to come in before. We sat with some of those members. No concerns. We voted the budget. 2 of the towns have already approved the budget. There were 2, besides
They'd
Acushnet.
be more than happy to revote a lower budget.
They probably would be, but they had the opportunity, and I'm not saying I'm sticking my feet in cement, but we go through this process the way we go through the process so that we can have agreement. There is transparency. Everybody gets what you get. We didn't hear anything, so we go with what we thought a level service budget. And I know that your constraint budget in Acushnet is not a level service budget. It is in between the 2 of them. A level funded and a level service. I just don't see going back.
Well, I think Mr. Hinckley hit the nail on the head when I look at K through 8 and I look at, more teachers. And I'm not saying the right things are being done at our local schools by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not gonna try to stick up for that, but until I can get more details from them. But I can tell you right now, I think early brain development is the utmost importance of a younger child. And to see some of these teachers getting cut, and I don't know which ones are being cut, but I can tell you right now, brain development is the utmost importance in the K through 8. And if you don't have that, what are we sending off to high school, right? So, it pains, I think Mr. Hinckley said it pains his heart, it pains my heart.
agree.
Mr. Resendes has got young children in elementary school and in middle school. I think for most of the parents that are out there in this community, it pains them as well, and there's no easy solution to it. And 3, 4, 5, 10 teachers, whatever the number is that they're talking about, in my opinion, is way too much. And I would love to sit down with them and look at their business administration as well and say, you know what, maybe you don't need all of these people before you start going after teachers, because I believe teachers are the utmost importance in the school department. Instead of having 9 million secretaries and 9 million other positions in administration, get rid of them. You don't need them. So I'd leave you with that thought.
Again, I will just say, when I watch it as a former elementary school committee member, it pains my heart. I have no stake in Acushnet, but it pains my heart as well. It pains my heart to go to a Lakeville because, like you, I believe when you start encroaching on the safety nets in elementary education, the ripple effect, that when you move forward. It's the same thing that I used to say when I was at OR on their school committee, when they praise the success of MCAS and AP and all that. You need to thank every elementary school teacher who had an impact, because that's where nurturing comes in. That's where intervention comes in. I understand that. But to change our budget, Kevin, to reach a number that's going to be useful to you, what would we, I mean, you're looking for $100,000 from us?
No, I didn't, I just asked for help. And you know, I don't want to get into details about your budget and some of the positions that are there, but obviously I just went through the budget and pretty heavily, and I do look at positions, and I think, why do I need 3 people to be doing one person's job? And I don't want to get on camera and start talking about that, but I think if you looked at it hard enough, you would probably say, man, we probably don't need 1 or 2 of those, and we can do away with it, right? And I'm not talking about teachers, I'm talking about administration people. I really do feel that in the bottom of my heart, looking at this budget, I really do. And unless I'm looking at things wrong, and we can have that conversation off here, because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings out there. It's a difficult conversation what we're having right now, right? And I hate to say too much because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And then people go back, the problem with when we're in this kind of situation is, well, go see Kevin, he's the one that made that budget cut. No, I didn't. I'm only one member of the board, okay? I'm not responsible for anything, and I do hear crap out in my own community, and it's always Kevin's the bad guy. I'm not the bad guy. I'm trying to solve a problem for the community, first and foremost. So if somebody ain't getting what they want, TS, and we all know what TS stands for, I'll give you the first word, it's tough, right? Because I try to represent my constituents and try to do what's equitable across the board for everybody and make good decisions based on what everybody's needs are. It ain't just what my one department needs, and I didn't get my way, I don't like Kevin anymore, or I don't like Mr. Resendes anymore, I don't like Mr. Hinckley anymore. And that kind of crap is out there, and it's starting to aggravate me, because it's not fair to any one of us or any one members of my FinCom, because they're gonna make cuts. I mean, we're not the bad guys, we're here to solve problems, and we try to do the best we can with what funds we have, and right now it's really difficult in making decisions on what we're gonna do.
And I can respect the position that you're in and the difficult position that you're in, but I also have to say that I have been on the Old Colony Budget Subcommittee, we now call it the Finance Subcommittee, for my entire tenure. I do not see excessive administration positions or anything like that. I go through that budget pretty thoroughly as well. You want to have a conversation at some time? Love to have a conversation, or come in and speak to us. But I think what has been presented to you, yes, I know it's difficult times, is a responsible budget.
Good. Mr. Hinckley? Anything further?
I think I spoke my piece.
Mr. Resendes, nothing?
I got nothing.
Mr. LaMontagne, you all set with budget? Well, it doesn't seem like we're gonna get any.
Yeah, I mean, I could always just reach out to Aaron and talk more about this, the whole transportation, because I see the columns here for each town, but we could talk about that you know.
Okay. So I do have a second one before you folks leave, and I did put new school discussion and revote for conversation, because there's a lot of people talking to me about it. I'm sure they're talking to my colleagues about it, and they're not happy about it. I'll come straight out and tell you straight up. We just talked about doing a revote, and I'm not getting a revote. And I know Old Colony wants to revote the same school again. And people are pretty aggravated about that, to be quite honest with you. And quite honestly, I did this for a reason. I'm hoping that the people that are out there that get on me about the revote, because somehow I'm being looked at, and this board's being looked at, and the town's being looked at like it's our idea, that we're going after they said no, and forcing that back on our constituents. And I just want this meeting to vet that out. It had nothing to do with this board. the FinCom of this town, the administration of this town, nothing. It was all on Old Colony, right? So, you're coming back, same exact vote, to make it clear.
Correct?
Same exact article, I believe it is. I
Yes.
kind of reviewed it quick.
Probably just dates that are different.
Correct. Seeing that same 288 million number,
That cannot change.
right? And it's June 20th.
Yes, it's a Saturday.
So let me ask this question, because I was actually at Old Colony on Patriots' Day, the holiday, when we took this conversation up. And June 20th is the day that you said, Mr. Polanski, that Lakeville has something going on and they can't vote on June 20th.
Lakeville
Lakeville, is that, what did I say?
Lakeville had a conflict
Yeah,
at their typical voting site.
correct.
We ran the alternative date by Lakeville that was discussed at that meeting. They had a conflict at the same place and then offered to change their site for the 20th. And so we were able to accommodate the 20th.
So Lakeville's polling location will be different than it always has been when they
That is correct.
they vote. You don't at all think that's a problem?
I have a presentation if you'd like, I can make it.
They are sending out postcards to registered voters to inform them in Lakeville of the change.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. I mean, there are people talking about the June 20th, Juneteenth Friday, Father's Day Sunday.
Would you like me to?
Nah, I've seen enough
Okay.
things about that school. I'll be honest with you, I wish, I really, obviously everybody knows that I'm a vocational school guy, right? I'm a graduate of Old Colony. I think trade schools in today's world, where we're at right now, is the utmost importance, right? Electricians, plumbers, HVAC, things of the like. I mean, there's other shops that might be outdated and there's not a big demand for them, so we could probably look at them and say we could scratch them off and not bring in so much teachers and staff for that operational budget increase, but I'm a huge trade school guy. I firmly believe in trade schools. I think I know from friends that I have in multiple towns with the city of New Bedford that their kids couldn't get into New Bedford vote because of the lottery. And that kind of breaks my heart, especially with the lottery system, right? Because I know some of these kids, their heart was set on being a carpenter, whatever it may be, right? They had their heart set on something, and guess what number I drew? 600. They stopped at, I'm arbitrarily speaking again, 450. Meanwhile, you get somebody who got picked in the 450, that has no interest in any of it. That's why I don't believe in lottery.
We can't do anything about the lottery because it's state mandated. The lottery affects who gets in as opposed to how many. And that is one of the critical issues we're trying to address in a new building, is that by increasing size, going from what's typically between 550 and 560 students to 776 gives more opportunities. Vocational education is the one form of education across the state that is not being impacted by declining enrollment. They cannot keep up with demand. Just use the numbers that Mr. Polanski showed in the beginning. You had 98 of your kids wanted to come to Old Colony. Only 43 are gonna become our kids.
Yeah, no, I get it.
If we had more opportunities to bring those kids into Old Colony,
So going back to my initial point is, I really wish that we would add a backup that was different from the first vote.
and you know what I really wish, Kevin?
You had a unicorn?
No, I don't believe in unicorns. But what I do believe in, and you've heard me, this project is over 6 years in the making. I've been with it every step of the way, okay? In the beginning, it was a statement of interest. and then we got approved for MSBA, and then it was getting the feasibility. Nothing was ever done in a vacuum, okay? The fiscal times were maybe were better then, but nobody had a crystal ball. Nobody was gonna know. We have spent 6 years to get to this point. We have presented a planned project design that the state has accepted and said, we'll give you up to $129 million. And what I wish was that I was not going to surrender that money back, because we will never get that money again. And if we do, it's gonna be something that's gonna be much smaller. And in the meantime, we're gonna have to make repairs to that building.
Yeah, I get it, we've been through that, I don't wanna get too involved with
Well,
the needs
you
of
have to
this.
say what you wish, that's what.
No, I know, I
that's what
get it,
my
Shirley,
wish.
but look, it's a big price tag, and I know
It
we
is a
talk
big-
about what's gonna happen in 5 years, but, you know, I'm not a proponent of bringing back votes that failed, and I talked about that before. This town's voted 4 times on a library, and it failed all 4 times. And I said, forget it, it's over, we'll figure out a different way, and we did. Thank goodness.
But we've done one, this is only 2.
No, I know, but that's the
But
thing,
Kevin,
right?
so few
So
people
there's
voted.
the trick question. So people are saying, well, hold on a minute. This is the mentality that's out there, and I want to share it with you so you're aware of it. So you lost your vote, you didn't get your way, you're coming back for a second vote. So when the second vote goes and you get your way, if you get your way, are we doing a third vote for a tiebreaker? Or do we just accept the results because we got our way? That's what I'm being hit with out there.
And when you were going for the library, what would you have responded?
What was it?
When you were going on your 4th vote or your 3rd
It
vote?
wasn't under my tenure. It was once under my tenure as a selectman. And then we got this petition, I think it was the Girl Scouts that petitioned us, like immediately, which I think was a political move. Okay? And at that point it failed, and I said, it's over. It's over.
We heard from so many people who said to us, well, I don't know if they were living under a rock, didn't even know you were having a vote. What was that all about? All of that.
That's impossible for anybody in this town not to know.
I didn't say your town, but
Oh,
there
our town. Yeah, our
there
town.
are other
I
towns.
mean, obviously.
Well, Rochester and Acushnet had in the 20%, but we had 3 of our towns that had less than 10% of the voters to come out and vote. This is such a consequential question for our children. Just as you feel passionate about your children, I feel passionate about the whole range. This is consequential for vocational education. This is a get it done now. And if we can't get it done now, Kevin, I'm going to assume, Aaron can correct me, that the MSBA is going to withdraw us. And there won't be a third vote. There'll be a third vote 6, 7 years from now, and let's hope the roof doesn't need repair or anything else at Old Colony. I mean, the thought that we have a $17 million asset, all 5 towns, and there is not a fire suppression to protect that asset, stuns me.
We can blame that on a lot of things though, can't we?
We could blame it on a lot of things, but blame
Past administrations, current administration, we know things aren't going on, we should be looking at it, not just saying we
that's
can't put it in.
not
We're gonna build a
maintenance.
school.
That is not maintenance. The time when that building was built, that was how buildings were built. The roof cannot take it to put in a fire suppression unit. And it is what it is, but how do we take care of it now? I'm not looking to lay blame on who designed it, who built it, all of that. I want to know, how are we going to protect it?
Mhm.
It's been 6 years, Kevin.
Yeah, no, I
My
get
my
it.
years are going quickly now, and I don't want to feel like I wasted 6 years.
Time will tell, June 20th.
Time will tell, and we will accept whatever the decision is that time. I hope people listen, and don't listen to chatter, that they go to a virtual town meeting. There's so much information out there. If they need information, please come to Old Colony and ask. You have an outstanding member of the school committee, Rob Gomes. He is here. He can answer questions for town. No, I'm not talking in this venue. But he is very experienced. He is on the building committee, and he chairs the subcommittee, the building committee that's a subcommittee for repairs. That school has been well-maintained, and that's why it's in the shape it is. But at some point, even the well-maintained buildings have things that are gonna go wrong.
Unfortunately, Shirley, you can have myself and both of my colleagues and the incredible individual that is there called Mr. Gomes speak until we're blue in the face. And the reality of it is, we might change a few minds, but we're not changing everybody's minds.
Well, then I will challenge the three of you to support the project. Support the project, go out and talk to your constituents, why it's more important, because when we start repairs, they're not gonna like it, and they're gonna wanna know, why didn't you tell us this? And we've been telling it over and over again.
If I could just quickly, two of the misconceptions that I think are out there, and we touched on both, to just clarify the.
Can you stand and announce your name?
Sure. Chad Crittenden, owner's project manager, PMA Consultants, working for Old Colony, resident of Rochester. So the $288 million number, the reason that it's the same number is because it has to be. The MSBA board met last October. They approved that as the preferred solution, so we can't change a single square foot or a single dollar in that project, where it's a completely different project and you start that 6-year process that Shirley talked about over from start. Also, the second thing I think was touched on was a plan B. Why not a plan B? Great question. But again, that's just not how the MSBA's program works. They allow you to put forth one preferred solution. The board meets and they vote on that one preferred solution. And if you go to something other than that preferred solution, whether it's a repair, an ad rent, or whatever it is, you start over from the start. Back to the
So that's the problem with state government right there. We just talked about the problems with Chapter 70 funding. That's exactly what I'm talking about. There's no common sense anymore. It's all gone. So if they're gonna give, I don't know, we're gonna end this, we're gonna move on, $130 million towards this $288 million project. What happens if we had a different option? We said, we're gonna do this, and it's gonna be 180 for a new school, but to our size, to accommodate what we have in our needs. And they said, okay, well, we're gonna give you 75 for that. Now the 5 communities on the hook for what, 110? Maybe that's more appetizing for somebody looking at it going, don't really need that school, but I'll support that one. But MSBA, as you just alluded to, go, no, it ain't meeting our criteria. Have a nice day, you're not getting the money, and we're gonna hold you hostage. Now it's all or nothing, which I think is absolutely insane that they could go, we're gonna give you 120, we'll give you 60, and we'll give another town that's looking for a school, but they're not on the list, and they need a new school, we'll give them the other 62, and we'll get 2 schools instead of 1, the way certain people want it built up there. I just think that process is upside down, just like the formula for Chapter 70 is upside down, right?
But it is the world we find ourselves in.
That's fine, Shirley, but you know what? It's up to the elected leaders, not only of the smaller cities and towns, but also the elected leaders, our legislative delegation at that state house, to start figuring out solutions to the problem, and not just on campaign years. I'll leave it at that, because that's what it comes down to. And I'm working with a very good gentleman right now, Mr. Mark Sylvia. I believe he's a problem solver. He's not just one to sit back and go, yeah, I'll show up in my election year with my cardboard check for 25 grand and put on a dog and pony show to the community, like what's been done in this room at that podium. Far too long, far too long. So either the people smarten up on who they're electing to send to that state house, or we're gonna end up in the same crap hole that we're in now, with no change, and they just keep on going over and over and over. And I think I said it at a no colony meeting, I don't really give a damn if you have a D, an R, or an I on the side of your name. That shouldn't matter. We should be electing people that are actually helping the people, instead of somebody with a letter on the side of their name in your program to go vote for that person, period. My views. Get results for the people.
Change takes time, and I'm not sure that Old Colony has the level of time that we're talking about. And that'll be my final comment as well.
It's bugging me so much, and I know some people out there might want to laugh, but President Donald J. Trump spoke about trade schools on the campaign trail. I think if we all sent a letter saying we need something, let's see what kind of response we get from that administration.
A letter's been sent.
February.
We've been-
I'll send a backup one to that one, just so they get the picture. right?
We're advocating
The
on
more of
every
us, I'll get
Please
I'll
rest
get the
assured,
state rep, I'll
we're
get our
advocating
legislative
on every level.
delegation, everybody on board, send letters and say, this is what's going on, this is what's happened to us. You promised, you made the promise about the importance of trade schools, pony up. I don't care if you like the man or not. I'll hold their feet to the fire.
I'm with
Let's figure it out.
100%.
The more we do that, the better results we're gonna get for the people that we represent. I don't understand what makes it
We're
so
working to
complicated for these
we are
folks.
working to turn over every rock. And to your point, Representative Sylvia has been phenomenal in terms of the way he's supported us. We've seen it we've had a lot of folks supporting us. There have been bills put into the legislature around expanding, the support for vocational education. We just received a $2 million grant for equipment in the machine and tool technology department. That's an upgrade. We received a $250,000 earmark to help offset the updates for the phone lines and the PA from Senator Rodrick's. We're doing everything we can to knock on every single door to make sure that we can create offsets to the extent we're able. The cost of the project is the lowest in the MSBA pipeline per square footage, and it's never going to be less expensive than it is now. And it was very hard to walk away from the idea of being able to do this at the least expensive rate that we'll ever see, in lieu of waiting till a later date when no matter what we do, there's never a good time to cross a wild river, right? When you're standing across from a wild river and you're trying to get across, you could say, well, I'll wait till it calms down. The wild river never calms down. There's never a good financial time for a big expense. We understand that, but I assure you, we're knocking on every single door.
That's why we need somebody else to pony up a bigger share of that money.
Yep.
Mr. Chair,
We just can't afford it.
I'm just concerned that, for over an hour and a half, we talked about a budget that you guys can't budge on, and we're gonna be making cuts on our end.
Every year, we meet with every single town, and we ask for feedback. 2 years ago, we did receive feedback from Acushnet and from Rochester, and we made cuts in accordance with that. This year, when we met with Acushnet, we did not hear concerns from anyone, and we moved forward in accordance with how we usually move forward. Had we heard at an earlier point, we absolutely would have made an arrangement to the extent
Right,
we're
so-
able, and we will continue to conduct ourselves that way,
No,
I assure you.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is, tied in with this building project, we're gonna have a debt exclusion, which for a new school, that's a good investment for the kids.
It is.
But the expansion, we just talked for an hour and a half over an assessment that we can't afford right now. Once that is in full operation and the operational staff is up, what kind of assessment are we gonna be looking at, you know what I mean? That's a concern to me, big time.
We have the information online, the comparative analysis.
It's gonna force us into an override.
It's an automatic forced override, I already talked about
And
that.
I can never support an override. Prop 2.5 is our protection. We pay taxes every which direction, you know what I mean?
The
Forecasting 6 to 9 years moving forward is difficult. I appreciate what you're saying, we've heard it from other people. Increase Chapter 70, God willing that they'll correct Chapter 70, we'll get more Chapter 70 monies for kids. You won't be sending kids to Fairhaven, ORR, don't know anywhere else.
New Bedford.
New
New Bedford, okay. We don't know how all of that, what those times will look like. And to not move forward because we're worried about what the operational budget may look like 6 to 9 years from now. We can't sway, we can't do anything about those concerns right now, but hopefully when that time comes.
Well, Mr. Gasper had a sheet from 2012 and it went up, what? Double. So we can at least assume double, right? It's a concern for me big time. We have a huge burden on our taxpayers and it's just something to think about, it's.
The repair option brings a burden too, and that's the tough part. But we completely understand. There's no small ask in any of it. Repair, new school, there's no small ask. We understand it.
we'll talk again. If you go back and get creative, let us know. Who knows what town meeting will do with budgets. It's, there's no easy answer to the problems anymore, you know? We do what we do, but the ask and to just turn to the taxpayer and say, send more money to us, there's a percentage of people that are willing to do it. I've spoke with them. I'm not saying everybody out there doesn't want to do and give a little bit more. The problem is, I believe firmly, there's a much bigger majority of people that just can't afford to do that. And there are a percentage of people, I will say a small percentage of people that I've spoken to and said, I wouldn't have a problem, whether it's our local schools for budgetary reasons or Old Colony. The problem is you don't have the big enough number to get it. And when you do, what does that say for all the people that are struggling? You know, how does that look? So I leave things to the people to decide. They'll decide what they want to do with their wallets and their piggy banks, just as I do. We'll see where the vote comes out, and we'll have a conversation in the future. That's all I can say. But thank you folks for coming in.
Selectman Chair, could I just say a few words?
Sure.
Speaking of the date being June 20th, in the town of Acushnet, we've had over 873 vote by mail applications that have been received and processed in the town clerk's office. And it's very important that I get the message out to our voters to let them know they will not get a vote by mail ballot in the mail for this district election. I have been speaking as much as I possibly can. I'm in the process of doing a flyer to get out. But I don't know what it is in the other communities. But having that large number right out of the gate, I want people to be aware they can vote absentee, or they would have to vote in person on that day. And that's going to be very important. So as a school committee, if you could also help to get that message out as well, that would be helpful. Okay.
So, Ms. Labonte,
Yes.
no vote by mail for June 20th, special vote, revote for the Old Colony New School. You have to either do it in person or absentee ballot, which, how long can you get an absentee ballot, up to what date?
Up until this election is on Saturday, it will be up until noontime the day before, which is going to be the 19th. But the 19th is the holiday, so it's going to be 5 p.m. on Thursday, the 18th.
So absentee ballot, I would have to imagine that would have to be filled out in your office
Yes.
by June 18th at 5 p.m., town clerk's office, if you want to vote absentee. And only to that point. Other than that, everybody's vote will have to be cast on Saturday, June 20th. Polls open at 10 a.m. till 6 p.m.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
When are you gonna get that flyer out in the mail?
I'm working on it.
Is that snow or bugs?
Dandelions.
You see it?
Yes, I did.
All right.
You might want to check your blood pressure.
Check it this morning, it was through the roof. All right, thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, next on the agenda, we have fire permit fees. The chief had a family matter he had to attend to, so he can't make it. There was a couple of questions I had for permit fees, so we will skip over that. And federal grant policies and procedures, Mr. LaMontagne, you want to give the board a quick update?
On this, I brought this to the board when we still had Selectmen Moynar on the board, so now that we have a new board member, just to go over this, it's just something that if we get a audit in the future, that we have this on file for, and I did look into it, specifically best buy just keep it for federal awards.
Yep.
with some of the commentary that got back last time I brought this for discussion purposes. So we don't need any action this evening, it's just, at some point, we'll need to do this, just so we can check that box.
This is just a rough draft of it.
It could be subject to change, so if you see anything in there,
Yeah.
Selectmen Resendes, say you wanna change or anything, let me know. I'd be happy to do that.
Okay.
Very boilerplate.
Yeah, no, I just,
There was
yeah,
just some discussion from the previous selectmen that it says federal grant policies, and there was something about incorporating that for, you know, day-to-day business or whatever other kind of grants that we got, but this
Yeah.
is specifically talking about federal grants or federal grants only. So-
yeah, not the content, it was just correction that I see in, yes.
So, in all your free time, Mr. Resendes, we can review it, Mr. Hinckley and myself will do the same thing in all our free time, and we'll get back to Mr. Lamontagne with our questions, comments, or concerns, and then in somewhere in the near future, hopefully when we're done doing budgets and warrant, and we get town meeting, pass by town meeting, we can put this back up for a final vote. Sound good, Mr. Lamontagne?
Sounds like a plan, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. All right, next we have an appointment of the 250th anniversary parade. And we have Miss Nancy Viveris in the audience, which she's the first name. Here is a list of individuals who will be serving. So we just got told who's gonna be serving on the Acushnet 250th Anniversary Parade Committee. And Nance, it looks like a lot of your family's being volunteers.
They are.
So, I'm going to look for a motion to appoint, just wait if anybody has anything to say about this little volunteer parade committee. They're official, they can do what they need to do, things of the like, so is there a motion to appoint Nancy Medeiros Viveris, Cindy Viveris, Karen Medeiros, Janine Perry?
Janine,
Janine?
she's on the beautification committee with me.
Okay, Janine, great. Janine Perry, Pauline Texera, and Nelson Viveris, Robert Medeiros, and Mary Boulay. Is there a motion to appoint said members to the 250th US Anniversary Parade Committee?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
There you go.
Thank
Thank you, Nance, and your family
You're welcome.
for putting themselves out there for this parade.
Thank you. Question for you.
Who's
My
the-
only
who's the
concern
young,
is
who's the young gentleman with you?
my grandson Luke.
Hey, Luke,
So moved.
how are you? Good.
What day,
How come he's not on a committee?
please? You want to be on the committee?
That a boy.
So, I know that July 4th lands on the Saturday, however, I know a lot of people go away, and it would be difficult to get people to, you know, drive the trucks for floats, or walking, or whatever, volunteers. Should we do it the Saturday or Sunday prior to July 4th?
No.
Okay, you want to stick to Saturday the
June
4th?
is just
Okay,
a messed up month.
okay.
I mean, why don't you see what you can do in talking to people, Nancy? You can
Right.
just give me a call and say, you know, maybe we do it the weekend after or 2 weeks after. Doesn't matter as long as we do it,
Right.
you know,
that's
and
the point
I
I'm
agree
trying to
with,
make,
I agree
yeah.
with you, 4th of July, man, it's like everybody else is
Right.
doing things already, I mean,
And I'm trying to get people to volunteer their time that weekend. They have things going on. So, I mean, let's just figure out a date so I can, you know, make sure I contact the appropriate people. If anyone in town would like to volunteer their services, I know there's a lot of construction companies with trailers, you know, that, you know, kids or organizations would like to, you know, decorate or whatever. You know, I'd appreciate it if they would come forward and contact me, so.
we should probably put, oh, look who's here, Margaret's here. So could we put something to help Ms. Viveras out on that, and Ms. Viveras can talk to you about what she needs and then put it up on the webpage. You know, don't hide it. Front page, just put a little blast out there for even 2 or 3 weeks and try to help Ms. Viveras out with what she needs.
Sure. I can call you tomorrow too.
That's fine, okay.
And Ms. Viveras, you can just let us know, let staff know, Margaret know, when everybody on the committee and who wants to participate in the parade, we can organize that group
That's what I'm.
for what date? And then we can talk about it in a future selectmen's meeting to give everybody, the community a heads up, but that's for the committee to try to organize and plan. And
You forgot redfish.
Oh,
I was gonna bring that up.
Yes.
is Brad on this list?
He was in the secondary part of the email. I just saw the front of it when Adam put it up.
You know,
Motion to appoint Brad Fish to the
I knew, yep.
250th Anniversary Parade Committee.
second,
All those in favor?
aye.
Thank you.
I don't have that email.
You don't have what?
I don't have that email in my book, but that's good.
Yeah.
I did, I don't
A couple
know.
days after.
So well, maybe I did. I added it because I talked to Ms. Viveras about it, and I said, she asked me if there was anybody else, and I said, yeah, please do. Here you go, you want that?
No, I have it in my ebook.
You can memorialize that if you like. Put a stamp on it. Do whatever you need. That's it. So just speak with Margaret and let her know what you would like to put on the webpage, and, you know, once you coordinate that with Margaret, then Margaret can let these 2 social media folks know, and they can go poof.
Got
Well,
it.
one of them
Yeah, true.
I'll
Can
take,
do
I'll take
that.
this one for you.
can do that, yeah, there you go.
Thank you very much. I appreciate
Can do
your
what they
time.
need to do, and in the meantime, Ms. Viveras, if you need anything from us, you can let the office know, and Margaret knows how to get a hold of me pretty good.
Lately, she just has to turn around, right there.
Yeah, unfortunately, I am right now, but anyways,
All
what are
right,
you laughing
wonderful.
about?
Thank you. I appreciate your
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so Mr. Hinckley asked to have annual town election date change bylaw discussion. So there you go, Mr. Hinckley, what you got?
So myself and Ms. Levanti met up with the schools and went over some options. They had requested that we sit down with them because of certain holidays like Juneteenth and situations like we had this year with snow days. They asked if there was anything we could do in terms of election dates, so to speak, at the school, so they wouldn't lose a full educational day, or B, any possible extension into the summer, so to speak. So ultimately, the only election we can actually move would be our annual officers election, which currently in our bylaws says the 4th Tuesday in April.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to suggest we move to the 3rd.
When we had that conversation with Ms. Labonte, when Mr. Wona was chairman, she said, keep in mind that is school vacation and you might be excluding people from that vote.
Yes.
So where did that conversation go with the
That
school?
conversation was brought up, and a lot of the hesitation was involving the fact that a lot of people travel, but that is the perfect qualifier for absentee ballot, in my opinion. And what I notice is a lot of people have apprehension about vote by mail because they're putting in a ballot in a box and hoping it goes where it's supposed to. Absentee ballot, you're actually voting in the clerk's office with the same town clerk and staff that run the actual election. And I think just letting people know how safe and secure absentee voting would be. If they're gonna go on vacation, they can vote with plenty of notice right in the clerk's office. I will say that it did cross my mind that you'd have less turnout, but I'm still of the mindset that I think if we can work with the schools to keep the kids from staying well into the summer along with the teachers, affecting grievances, everything else involving holidays that were added, I'd be okay with it, but ultimately, this is a decision for all of us. And,
It would actually, Ms. Labonte, it is a charter, isn't it?
it's a bylaw.
bylaw.
It's only a bylaw?
Article 1, Section 2.2.
So it's a bylaw, not a charter change?
Correct. So it still has to go to the Attorney General to be voted. Hi, Adam. But it is not a charter change.
Okay, so why did it take so long for it to happen last time? We changed it last time and it felt like that change didn't happen for like 2 years.
Because they had already done their school calendar. So they asked that it happen that following year. So we put it in the bylaw that it would be effective. I forget what the,
It would have been effective
Oh.
at that town meeting, but the way it was written,
yes, the
Once-
way the warrant article was written was that it would be effective in fiscal year 2023, I believe, or 2024. We voted to change it to a Saturday in 2019. That was not working out.
No.
We were not getting the voter turnout. So we changed it in 2023, effective 2024. That's what it was. Because we wouldn't have gotten the approval from the AG's office
Right.
for a minimum of 90
Just
days.
changed school vacation by a
They'd
week.
already had their school calendar already planned. So,
Changed school vacation by a week. Watch this.
no.
I knew
no.
I'd get that.
I-
It's like, are you nuts? It's a joke.
No, I did attend the school committee meeting just the other day, and I did get the support of the school committee for us to do it during school vacation week. So ultimately, the school the school committee would ultimately like us out of the school. Because it would make it a lot easier for scheduling, to ensure that the kids are not in the building at the time of the voting. I did, along with Selectmen Hinckley, we did discuss the fact that in my 18 years, I have tried every town building, and even a building that wasn't a town building.
The Grange.
The Grange. And we did discuss it at a previous meeting. Many of those locations are just not conducive
No.
for safety, ADA compliance. So this was kind of a middle of the ground with the school that they would agree as long as we changed it to the third Tuesday in April.
yeah, at that,
That's always spring vacation?
Yes.
always, yeah, and
Yes.
that's statewide.
And I would like to make one correction, that absentee voting, yes, can be done in our office, but absentee voting is also done by mail as well.
Oh, okay. Well,
And I know
they
it's.
can still show up to your office physically if they choose,
Absolutely,
correct?
absolutely. And I encourage anyone that has any apprehension about voting by mail, whether it's vote by mail, absentee voting, to come to my office. I will make appointments and sit down and explain and walk people through the process. So they understand the security that is in place with a ballot that's dropped in a drop box. The only thing I cannot control is if we get it back from the post office.
Safe in Acushnet, but they wouldn't be talking about the SAVE Act if it wasn't safe,
Well,
right? So, there you go.
and I have to say, the Mount Pleasant Street postmaster has been phenomenal. He allows me to drop off ballots and they bypass Providence so that our residents get them sooner. But we
Nice.
just, when they send it back, that's the only thing we can't control.
And you want an answer on that tonight, because we're gonna try to get it on this town meeting.
Yes.
I'm
Essentially,
assuming
yes.
this is what you're doing.
Correct, and we'd also have to get in front of the bylaw review committee before town meeting, well, before the town meeting as well.
Mr. Rosendes, you see any issues?
I don't see any issues. I mean,
I'm fine, I don't care. It is what it is. Hopefully the people will understand. It really is about the security of the students at the school.
Absolutely.
However, we don't have any control over state elections, so
Exactly.
albeit, but we are at least trying to. And thank you, Mr. Hinckley, for fulfilling that obligation that the board tasked you with. You got one done.
Thanks.
And
Tough route.
I mean, I have no problem changing it
Okay.
to the third week. You know, I wish we would have thought of that, they would have the same concerns, but whatever.
Well, we did. We did discuss this previously before we changed it to the last.
No, I'm talking about, yeah, whatever, I know, I'm the one that told you, can we move it to a Tuesday instead of a Monday, because we're the only monkeys that do it on Monday. I'm like, why would we do it on Monday? Everybody's like, oh, I'm gonna go vote, what do you want me to vote for? I'm like, what do you mean, what do I want you to vote? I just want you to go vote, don't ask me that question, but it was yesterday. Like, and they're like, oh, I thought we voted on Tuesday. So, I mean, we are getting better turnout, I think, on Tuesdays,
Yes, we are.
so,
is vote by mail like a permanent, that's how that's gonna be?
unless the SAVE Act goes in place, then we can kiss that goodbye.
Yeah, well, there is, we're not exactly sure right now,
So we
but,
may be amending this in the near future if it does go.
well,
I just-
vote,
Well, just something that
So then it would just be absentee then?
right, vote by mail, as of right now, unless the laws change, is available for our local elections and our state and federal elections. But it's not available for the district elections.
Right.
So as of right now, that is staying in place. But again, it's important that people understand, specifically those 800 and some odd people that have requested ballots for all elections for this year, that they understand for the June 20th, they will not get a ballot in the mail.
Okay, very good. So,
Okay? So we need a vote tonight from the board that you will place this on the election.
how about a handshake?
Okay,
Both.
yes.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
And I will get the exact verbiage to Adam for the article. Okay, I'll do that tomorrow.
Just copy the one we did 3 years ago.
That's what I did.
Oh, actually, that brings up a good point. I would like to make a change
Oh.
also.
I trust your judgment.
Okay, but this is important.
Okay.
The way it's written right now is every time we make a change to the town election, it has to be voted by the town. The way the bylaw is written. It's also written that way for the town meeting. And I didn't realize this until I started the last couple of days diving into it. So the Board of Selectmen technically does not have the right to change the town election or the town meeting. It has to go for a vote of the town.
Yeah, that was the plan anyway.
Yes,
Yeah.
but we didn't incorporate the town meeting. And
Oh,
I
I see what you're saying.
apologize because I'm kind of blindsided.
It does say vote of
on
the
this right
town.
now. It's a vote of the town.
Yeah.
So I would like to change that by a vote of the Board of Selectmen.
2 articles.
2 separate articles.
No, why, we could do, oh, you want to? Okay.
Are they separate
It-
parts of
One is
separate?
2.1 and one is 2.2.
So you're amending
Okay.
2 bylaws.
Yes,
2 articles.
yes.
All right. If you come up with the language, Pam, let me know.
Absolutely.
And also, if you could possibly reach out to the chair of the bylaw review committee and schedule a meeting once the language is
And that
official.
is, I believe that's Mr. Howcroft.
I believe so too.
Yeah, okay. I take care of all the scheduling.
So this all needs to be moved very quickly,
Yes,
because we're gonna have Mr. Kelly up next right now to give us some on budgets and warrants.
Yes.
And we need to get this moving because deadline's coming, and I don't feel like we're close. So we need to figure this out.
Oh, I mean, as far
There
as
ain't no
me, you'll
more.
have that tomorrow.
Submitting of articles, that deadline's come and gone.
I figured
It's only because Mr.
I figured I'd make
Healy
a
is a
special
member of the
request.
board, and he has the executive privilege to do what he's just done. Other than that, we would not allow it.
Yes. We
You
can
like that?
certainly
I like
come
that.
back for
You
the
like
town
that?
meeting.
Executive privilege?
We
First
can
time
do
I've
the
heard.
town meeting separately. You know, I can do that at another, but I just figure where we're not abiding right now by that bylaw.
So you just keep on talking, and
The way
we're
you
gonna
read-
rescind
the way you
everything that we've done at all these town meetings. So, bye Pam, have a wonderful night. I
Thank
think
you,
we've said
Pam.
enough to the public.
Okay.
It's like, whoa, wait a minute, I don't like what happened 2 years ago. Anyways,
I'm all
I need-
about
I need a-
transparency.
I need a
oh
bylaw,
yeah,
I need a bylaw book.
You need,
Like,
Yes.
Yeah, with every bylaw if you could.
okay.
Yeah,
so can you make 3? Because I'm still waiting for my binded one that I never got.
Yeah. Well, we're still in the process.
Come on now.
We
She's
are.
hand making the bindings.
It is all, have you spoken
have the
with
charter, I
planning
just need the
board? Have you
bylaws.
spoken with Victoria regarding the possible grant to do a complete and total legal review of our bylaws?
We'll talk about that, it's on the agenda, we'll talk about
Okay.
that some other time.
Okay.
I don't wanna be discussing
that's
things,
why
and
it's-
people just start throwing stuff around, and whatever money, $100,000 we already spent, and we still don't have it, and we're gonna go get grants for another $50,000, we can have that discussion some other time, but tonight, it's not on the agenda. So bylaw books, whatever, we'll talk
So
about.
I will get you what I
Future
have.
conversations, Miss Labonte.
What I have.
My town clerk will bury me if I talk about something and make discussion on something that's not on my agenda,
That
so.
is very true.
Miss Labonte, let us move forward because it's not on the agenda. West Island beach permits.
Gentlemen, quick updates, Mr.
I don't
Chairman.
think they need me anymore, do they?
Last
Done enough
meeting,
damage.
I was tasked with reaching out to the golf committee in regards to the request from Fairhaven. Golf committee is not in agreement with the request from Fairhaven. So I'm waiting on a response from the BPW in Fairhaven for what I would like to consider a happy medium. I do not have that information yet, but as of tonight, they are still being held aside for us, but we can't make an official decision on beach passes until clarity from Fairhaven. Depending on what Fairhaven says, ultimately the decision would be ours to make anyway. But I'm choosing to work with the golf committee to the best of my ability to kind of split the difference here. So I'd ask that I address this at a later date.
Well, If it becomes a problem, Mr. Hinckley, then bring it to the board.
Yep.
Ultimately, it's the say of the Board of Selectmen, so, well, I don't know what the indifferences are, but I'm sure it is, I talked about that $45 difference or whatever it was last time
Yeah.
around. So we can figure out what the issues are and how it's worked out in the past. That's why I asked you to get on board and
Yep.
talk to them, and if there's something else going on that needs to be a board discussion,
Yep.
bring it
I'll put together a memo through
before the
the
sun
town
starts
administrator.
shining.
Yeah, well, it's June 1st is their opening day, so
Oh,
time to shake and bake, but I'll put together all the information that I have through Adam, get it to you gentlemen, just for review.
okay.
Excellent.
Thank you. Anything else?
No, thank you.
Annual town meeting discussion and vote. So Mr. Kelly is still in the audience, looking like he's ready to run out the door. Maybe you're running to the podium. I don't know if you want to give the board an update. We do have
You've got a draft.
a quick draft here with a whole bunch of yellow and red.
All right, the red are articles that if the board has objections to putting into the warrant, if board members can talk to Adam and I about it, we can discuss. Most of the dark black ones are the annual ones, the typical ones. I'm asking you to start at page 17 on the new draft that's in front of you in the file. That's everything prior to that is the typical stuff. There have been some articles added. I also would like direction from the board if they want us to go in and present an article that cleans up old articles that have minor funding left after the purpose of the article has been exhausted. We have a list to put together and we can go over it and put that article in. As you know, we have some issues with finances, and so if we can take money out of those, I can make a recommendation to the board and send out an email on Monday prior to the meeting with the various articles of the past. I've had requests for articles from various board members, and we've got 2 new ones to add. They're placeholders in the warrant with articles for if you settle any of the collective bargaining agreements. They're in there. Those articles, if the collective bargaining agreement is not settled, will be passed over at town meeting. I should have asked the town clerk if we have a moderator, because we should start to work with the moderator on the warrant and go over some of the wording. It goes to town council on the 22nd. You have a meeting on the 20th. So that way we can finalize everything.
Gentlemen, I will make a comment about that date. We're shooting for a meeting on May 20th, is a week from today.
Correct.
It will depend on where Mr. Kelly, Finance, Mr. Lamontagne, and myself get. Hopefully we get to where we need to be with finalizing budgets. I know we're doing opening bids for Holly, possibly disposal Friday.
And then
So we'll see where those numbers come in. Mr. Lamontagne is the chief procurement officer, so he'll be opening those up and looking at all that. We're reviewing Miss Jamie Lynn, our assistant town accountant, so we can try to figure out some numbers there for CMAS and things of the like. But while I have you, Jamie Lynn, I'm gonna need to get with you tomorrow or Friday and go over revenue and expenses for water and sewer. And then we gotta get together with Mr. Menard. But I would prefer to sit with you first before that happens. And then I need to set an agenda at the latest by Monday at 4 for a Wednesday meeting at 4:30. And I'd hate to do that, but I don't know of any other time that we would have to finalize if we ain't.
I would say put it on the agenda anyway, because you can look over the warrant, and as long as a lot of the standard stuff like the consent agenda and that type of thing, you could approve that.
So that was my other thing. So yeah, we will do a meeting then on the 20th to finalize articles outside of the consent agenda. Right?
We could do, you've got it before you right now for review of everything but the two articles the town clerk talked about and the article to clean up the old articles.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll have time to do that, but there is some that
There's only a couple I'd recommend.
I don't want to let the cat out of the bag on something that we're going to discuss on May 20th, but okay, and then that one's a bigger one to rescind. You know what I'm talking about. was Article 24, 2 years ago, I'll give you that. So
Yep.
anyways, I'm not gonna talk about that right now, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yep,
So I'd like to get that off the books as well, so we can look at, review. We have a new list? Articles?
yeah, I gave it to
Oh.
you.
No, that's right. You give me more, look. This, that, I mean, come on now, Jamie.
I'm trying to
Yo,
fill
like,
them.
I sit down with Mr. Kelly, he goes, other folder. I'm like, oh, that's right, other folder.
I'm trying to give you enough to fill a dumpster.
Yeah, I know that I'm gonna pay a permit fee on.
Not yet.
No,
And,
anyways.
and so the other members of the board know, we've got 4 department budgets other than the school budget and the enterprise funds budgets that we're still looking at, and we need more information. We've got the offset sheet ready to go. Once we look at the enterprise budgets and we finalize some of the insurance issues, which have been finalized as far as health insurance goes, as far as the rates. So we know the offsets for health insurance. We've got the Medicare ones done. We know the percentages for the pension. We're just looking now at the liability and property insurances as far as the offsets go. Won't be much different from years past.
Get your crayons out.
Yep.
Don't use yellow or red. Mark it up. That needs to be looked at ASAP. The
Right.
federal grant policy thing, we can put that
Yeah,
on
no,
the
I get
shelf,
that.
but that needs like your
Yeah, and
immediate attention.
typically there are reasons put at the end of articles. Some of them are, still need to be written, but I need input from some of the drafters on that.
So with that said, I want to make sure that we have, because we don't know what's going on with a moderator, I need to have motions done 7 days prior to town meeting, not Friday before town
Yeah.
meeting. Okay?
Well,
I'll make that a motion.
So moved.
So,
Oh, second,
second.
sorry.
No,
Oh,
I would ask.
you second.
I would ask that that vote also be communicated to town council, because staff has usually had the motions done 2 to 3 weeks before town meeting.
fair enough.
Mr. Lamontagne, can you do me a favor, the board a favor? Contact town council and tell them that when we're done with motions, get on it. The board's requested
And
to have it completed nothing less than 7 days prior to June 15th.
And the board has already instructed staff to send the warrant to town council on the 22nd of May.
As long as we're done, yeah.
Yeah.
So again, so to be fair to Mr. Resendes and Mr. Ingley, myself, so basically take that, read over the articles. If there's anything that's like alarming, sticking out to you, or something that you feel that you may not want on it, can you share that with Mr. Lamontagne on the latest Monday? I don't care if it's an email or a call to him. We're gonna be sitting down on Monday, dealing with wrapping up hopefully wrapping up some of the other issues. I'll do my due diligence on the articles as well. Just look at it. If you feel strongly about something or an article that you don't want, just let them know so we can have some dialogue about that before we get into our Wednesday meeting, and it comes as a surprise to everybody. So share that with Mr. Lamontagne.
And
Absolutely.
just for the board's edification and to remind the board, the citizen petition articles, we cannot touch. They've been petitions, the signatures have come in, they go into the warrant just as they are, even if there are mistakes in it.
If I may.
Mr. Lamontagne?
So we've been working together on this warrant and obviously the budget as well, but there's two of those articles in there. I believe the retired officers has already been reviewed by town council, and the beautification committee article that they have in there with the suggested language from town council, so I don't think it's gonna be a substantial hurdle getting these through.
I don't foresee problems with town council on the articles.
It's the motions.
We have forwarded the motions before and got them the Friday before town meeting.
Motions generally have some.
We write the motions, send them to town council. Town council reviews them and is supposed to send them back so we can create the books for the board, the stage, FinCom, and sometimes we get them
We just
on Friday.
What Mr. Kelly's was trying to say to us is politely, he's saying, sometimes certain people drop the ball and it's not always the fault of employees in this building. Could be from elsewhere that they got, and to be fair, they have other things that they're doing in town meetings, but we have to sometimes just remind people that this needs to be done. The board voted to have it done. All motions, we want the books ready a week in advance, not the weekend of, because it's been mostly for the moderator that has to prepare themselves for town meeting. It's not fair that they have to spend the weekend doing that and then go to town meeting Monday night. We already know what we know, and it's just motions, so.
We've had telephone communications between staff and the moderator on the weekend before town meeting, and it's not fair to any of them.
That's why I'm pitching it out now.
Rebuild year, let's go.
So what it is, we're gonna try to rebuild and get things moving in the right direction. All we need you to do, Mr. Kelly, is maybe, I don't know, like $1 million you can drop off for us.
You want me to load it to you?
Yeah.
No, I want it to be given to me.
I'll load it to you.
I'm not paying you back.
Yeah, well, I'll load it to you when you match the funds.
All right, well, why don't you give me back my $80-some for mulch? But anyways, all right, so that's that, gentlemen. Remember, please get through that. Even if you make copies of it or you want to use it, and just highlight things. If there's mistakes in it, just highlight them so that it makes it easier on staff to go through it and go, yep, good catch, good catch, good catch. What we normally do is a lot of the reoccurring articles we use from the previous annual. And we just, it's kind of like a cut and paste, but sometimes we forget to change 2025 to 2026. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. If you highlight it, just don't use red or yellow because those colors have already been used. Margaret has some pretty crayons in the office for anybody who needs them, right, Margaret? So, Selectmen's announcements. I'm gonna let Mr. Hinckley go first.
Just looking at. Oh, you know what? I can get this one in. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Happy early anniversary to my mom and dad. Coming up on the 16th. Don't ask me how long it's been.
Whoa. You better know your own at least.
I do.
All
It's
right.
exactly 1 week after that.
So, happy anniversary to Mr. and Mrs. Hinckley.
Happy anniversary.
Mr. Resendes, anything on the Selectmen's announcements?
This past Saturday, I participated in the Beautification Committee Operation Clean Sweep. It was a good turnout, a lot of trash picked up. It was a good day. I bribed my kids, and
Don't use that word on TV.
well, I took them out to breakfast and then told them they were going to pick then I
Gave
told
him a
them
trash bag.
Then I gave them a trash bag. They were upset at first, but when they were doing it, My oldest said he felt good about what he was doing and it was rewarding, so,
That's awesome.
That's good.
yeah, it was a good day.
Great, thank you for doing that, and I do want to say thank you to all the volunteers who came out Saturday along with Mr. Resendes and his family to pick up the trash that's around town. To all of you folks that participated in it, thank you very much. Unfortunately, I've been asked to speak about some of the rogue young individuals with e-bikes at Pope Park. So we've been having a lot of complaints. I've spoken to a number of parents that have grandchildren at Pope Park and parents who have children at Pope Park. And I actually know of something that happened on opening day, and police have been out there far too much last year, and it's already started this year. So I've been asked to speak and let everybody out there in the Acushnet public, and if you're from anywhere else, which we do, it's not all Acushnet kids, so, but we do have some Acushnet kids that are being disrespectful at Pope Park with their e-bikes. They are not allowed in Pope Park with e-bikes. And I've been asked to let you know that if they are caught by Acushnet police, their bikes will be seized. The parents or the legal guardian can go pick it up from the police station so that they can have an opportunity to talk to the parent. You've seen the signs on the illumination signs over the past week. They've had warnings up about that, trying to be nice. Our PD has done a good job on trying to do it, but we do not have the staff to sit around Pope Park and babysit somebody else's kids doing wrong things. So I'm just asking for those that are out there that are willing to listen. If your kid has an e-bike, please keep them out of Pope Park. With your e-bike, you can walk through with your e-bike, lock it up at a gate, a fence, whatever you need to. There are absolutely allowed there, but not to ride your bike, your e-bike in Pope Park, or it will be taken if they are caught, and they will get caught eventually. Several of them have already, and I know that we have some bad actors from other communities coming in and doing that, and they're also out on the roads. So public safety is, you're testing our police department with their patience, and that's not a good thing. So please just do your part as a parent, have a conversation with your kid if they own a bike, to not be obnoxious when you're on the roads. Abide by the rules of riding your bike out there. Don't run anybody over, stay off sidewalks if it's possible, and definitely stay out of Pope Park, because after that, if that message don't work, we will be seeking fines down the road. We will have that conversation as well as a board. We're gonna see how seizing the bikes and talking to the parents work first, and after that, it'll be all over. And we'll figure something else out that it'll stop it, because it's just getting really, really bad. So that's the message from public safety that I was supposed to deliver. And I will just say to all the moms out there, I missed it, my last meeting, but happy belated Mother's Day. I hope you all enjoyed your day. I was very pleased with the beautiful weather that you finally got on Mother's Day, because normally Mother's Day is a rather raunchy day as far as weather goes for the past couple of years. So this past Sunday was a beautiful day, and I woke up and I said, Mother Nature's finally respecting all the moms out there. Good for all the moms. So to all the moms, happy belated Mother's Day. That's it. We got an executive session and a motion for convening executive session, General Laws 38, Section 21A, Purpose 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation of an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares. ASME Local 851 and or MUP-25-11-722. The board will not return to public session at the conclusion of executive session. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Roll call vote. Mr. Hinckley?
Yes.
Mr. Resendes?
Yes.
And I am a yes. We are now in executive session.